Hello and a very good evening. You are watching the latest episode of Beyond the Boundary on TOS Sports. Excitement is building up for the first test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which gets underway on November 22. And we had a couple of press conferences today, an additional press conference by the WACA curator. A lot to talk about, lot to discuss. India's playing 11, who could play, who will sit out. So let's have a full panel as always. Nitin Nayak and Dwaipan Datta joining me today, Times of India ace reporters and editors, and we'll be shortly joined by TOI Digital Group Sports Editor K. Srinivas Rao, and we are hoping that Chetan Narula joins us in time when the discussion kind of heats up. So, firstly, gentlemen, the excitement is kind of building up. It's again that time of the year when we'll be waking up early. We have spoken at length about that. So, first, I'll start with Dwaipan because a very interesting development happened today. We spoke काफी बात किया कल हमने अश्विन को भेजने हैं प्रेसर पे आज गुगली मार दिया किसी ने बीसीसीआई में Morkel came for the press conference. What are your thoughts on what happened in that press conference? Morne Morkel was very calculated. The way he spoke didn't give a lot away. वो तो शुभमन गिल का भी hope बढ़ाकर चले गए. So your thoughts on the press conference and the build up to this test match?
The press conference, the only takeaway from the press conference is that Nitish Reddy is playing. Like that is probably the only proper takeaway from the press conference. He's coming instead of Ashwin was the googly, as you had said, because had Ashwin come for the PC, it would have been certain that he would have been playing. Now still he may play. It is not that he will not play, but I am sure they are looking to keep the Australian team, Australian management in some sort of a dilemma as to who is playing. Either it's Ashwin or Jadeja. I think that's one thing. And otherwise, whatever he said was more or less uh, basic stuff. Like that, he didn't give away much. So Shubman Gill, as much as he tries to say that he is fine, he will not play the first Test match. That you can, because he has not batted also last few days, and also with 2 days to go, he is not playing. Yeah, this is the way that they do. Even during the World Cup when he had COVID, till the day before they kept saying that Shubman Gill might be fit for the match, and obviously he was not fit. So these are small mind games that they are trying to play, but Shubman Gill is not available for the game. That's almost certain. Yeah, so that is about that. Yeah, yeah.
I think डीडी भाई I think it's more than mind games. I think it's the height game. Mind games वाला caliber मुझे वहां पे किसी में लगता नहीं कि ये mind games खेलेंगे क्योंकि शुभमन गिल I think the madness in the World Cup started with the Chennai game, right, and it took them 3 days to accept the fact that he has dengue. Otherwise no one used that word. सब illness, sick, viral यही सब बोलते रह गए. डेंगी तो जाके तभी पता चला जब शुभमन I think पुणे प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में खुद आया था after the Pune ODI. So let's leave Shubman there. I think we have a bigger matter to discuss today, and as our thumbnail has suggested, it's the discussion around Ravichandran Ashwin, because right now a lot of playing 11 calls look pretty straightforward. Whether it's number 3, whether it's opener, Nitish Reddy, as Didi said, has been more or less confirmed for a debut in Perth. First Nitin, then Srini. I'll take both of yours opinion on how straightforward or how difficult is that Ashwin call going to be. Just giving some context to my question on how the WACA curator spoke about the pitch and how the grass, which is kind of very encouraging to him, will offer some purchase for the seamers and some grip for the spinners. He categorically mentioned the word grip and the ample bounce which will be on offer. So first Nitin and then KSR on Ashwin and whether it's as straightforward as it looks like.
Any discussion or debate or dilemma they would have about playing Ashwin, they should just look at what Nathan Lyon has done on that ground. 4 matches. I think in 2 of them. I think he's been man of the match, and I think he's picked up his wickets at 18. There's a lot of breeze at Perth, which means that Ashwin will also get a lot of drift. Plus, he's a brilliant bowler against left-handers. Australians have 3 left-handers in their top 6, and I think Ashwin is a no-brainer at Perth. He has to play.
Yes, sir. Your thoughts, Ashwin, Jadeja, or an extra seamer? We did discuss a lot yesterday, but now with Nitish Reddy coming into the mix or being cemented in that playing 11, so to say, how do you look at the combination or alteration to the combination which you had expected last evening?
I don't think anything changes. I agree with Nitin, and I don't think anything changes from what we discussed yesterday. I think yesterday the conversation revolved a little more around the fact that when Dwaipan mentioned about that point about that press conference, where how can you drop a guy who's coming for a press conference -1? But having said that. I totally go with Nitin. See, aside from the fact that what he brings to the table, considering the amount of left-handers that Australians carry, Nathan Lyon's record that he mentioned at Perth and the conditions that are available, etc., etc. He's also your best bowler. After or alongside Jasprit Bumrah, right? And going into a series as important as this, just can't afford to drop your topmost guy. You just can't afford to drop your top bowler. It's not like we are spoiled for choices. I do understand where these recommendations, etc., are coming from. Uh, you will start with R. Ashwin. I don't see any rocket science there. It's a no-brainer for me. I think it could have been a planned way in which they said that Ashwin will come for the press conference and then probably decide. It could have been one of those mind games that India wants to play. Maybe it's Gautam and Virat at work or somebody at work who's thinking like let's pull a smart one off. But having said that, look at these numbers and I mean, come on. I mean, you're in a build up to a series as important as this, just can't afford to. And also considering the fact that in the given tail that I have at my disposal, he's still my best bet with the bat.
Yeah.
So, keeping all of these things into consideration, I think it's a no brainer. He just starts.
No, Ashwin starts, and that brings me to the interview I did with Mike Hussey. If you can have that graphic up on the show, please. He spoke a lot about the contest going to be between the likes of Nathan Lyon and Ravichandran Ashwin. We are talking about Stark, Bumrah, Hazelwood, and we are kind of conveniently brushing the two modern day great off spinners under the carpet right now. And Hasi elaborated on the fact that these two spinners, if they hold that one end up, they can actually allow a captain to be more attacking with the quick bowlers. And we have been speaking a lot about how that oldish Kookaburra, I don't know how old it will get considering the conditions overhead in Perth right now and the way they have been for the last couple of days. Even the curator is kind of praying for some sun so that the upper layer, the upper crust of the pitch kind of starts baking and hardens before the game gets underway. So that group mentality is something Hasi spoke about. Didi, your thoughts on that? How important will it be for the rest around Ashwin, or I would say around Bumrah, play that support cast role because you can't have all the bowlers going for that aggressive route when it comes to bowling in Australia. You need to hunt in pairs, hunt in partnerships. How important is that group mentality which Hasi spoke about is going to be?
Yes, it is absolutely about hunting in packs in Australia. Like, uh, unless you have a battery of bowlers who can catch them by their throat, it is very
Yeah,
difficult to get Australia. So,
yeah,
and India on the bowling front, thankfully, they have the variety to do that. They have the variety to do that,
yeah,
and they are in fact in many ways they're spoiled for choices. Like uh,
yeah,
the Harshit Rana, Prasidh Krishna, these two guys, none of them may play, but any of them can easily walk into the 11. So
yeah,
they have that ability to hunt in packs. And Ashwin, but one thing about Ashwin also, I want to mention that I was listening to an interview of his, like where he's saying that how obsessed he was with Steve Smith at a time when Steve Smith was slightly dominating him, and how he got into the videos of Steve Smith and analyzed him like to the last detail, and had that stranglehold over him in the last series that we played there. So it will that and reminded Steve Smith is back at number 4. He
yeah,
is not opening, so he's back at number 4. He will face the probably a slightly older Kokabura ball, and there Ashwin again has to weave his magic. It is very
yeah,
very important that he does that against Steve Smith, because if he comes into bat 30 overs, 35 overs, 100 for 2, at that point Ashwin has to should be a bigger threat to Steve Smith than probably an Akashdeep. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
So they have to hunt in pack in if they have to make a serious impression on this match. And one more thing, Sahil, I just hope because it has been raining and on the way the pitch is the India wins the toss and they will probably field first. They will not do the Bengaluru mistake that they did. In fact, Australia will also do that because Australia made the same mistake in Melbourne in
Yeah.
2021. Yeah.
We often speak about Ashwin, and he's the greatest off spinner to come from India. His record speaks for itself. But Nitin bhai, even at this stage of his career, when he's probably kind of slowly or forcibly driving into sunset, I would say now that जो माहौल बन रहा है कि अब seniors को हटाएंगे, Agarkar is going to stay till the end of the tour, and all that talk is kind of gathering steam. But this would be something which Ashwin would personally want to tick it off, right? That tag of not being India's preferred choice, even after all these years of doing so well, that tag which always comes along with R Ashwin ki yaar अभी बाहर जाएंगे तो जडेजा खेलेगा, अश्विन इज नॉट योर चॉइस, फिर बोला जाता था बैटिंग नहीं है, अच्छा फील्डिंग नहीं है, यू वुड फाइंड न्यूमरस रीजंस जस्ट टू कीप हिम ऑन द बेंच. बट नाउ इफ ही does get that nod, I don't recall the last time Ashwin was the preferred spinner when a series started. And we on this show were kind of discussing कि यार ये तो थर्ड टेस्ट से पहले खेलेंगे नहीं क्योंकि सेकंड डे नाइट टेस्ट है. Now if he actually starts, for him personally, that obsession of his, which is always there to kind of tick things off. Steve Smith was one. How important is this test match going to be for Ashwin to kind of start that away leg towards the end of his career?
Excuse me. It's almost his career almost mirrors that of Anil Kumble, isn't it? Anil Kumble also, once Harbhajan came onto the scene, I think Ganguly preferred to play with Harbhajan in overseas tests. It's only in 2003, 2004, when the team went to Australia, that he reinvented. He worked on his googly, and then he became the first. I think Harbhajan got injured there, and that I think uh, Harbhajan I think played the Brisbane Test, and from Test 2 onwards, I think Kumble played, and I think in 3 Test matches he took almost 25 wickets. And the Australian tour 2003, 2000, he also bowled very well in 2007, 2008 as captain. And I think he reinvented himself. And Ashwin also, there's absolutely no doubt why they call him the scientist, because he keeps working, he keeps reinventing, he keeps analyzing batsman videos. Uh, I still think he would want to leave on a high. And after his career is over, he has a great career waiting for him as a podcaster or as a YouTuber or as a commentator or as a coach. So, but I think there's still some time for that. I think he would like to leave on a high, and this is one series or one series where he would like another battle with Steve Smith, and like
Yeah.
last time he won that battle, and I think he would like to win this battle again.
No, just coming to battles, there was one battle last BGT round. It was between Nathan Lyon and Chiteshwar Pujara. We thought we'll see another installment of that in Australia, but that wasn't the case to be. But Josh Hazelwood very clearly remembers what Pujara had done. Now, Srini, just quickly moving towards the batting bit, just briefly, because Hazelwood spoke about Pujara, how he would tire out the bowlers and frustrate them. Now there will be no Pujara, and we were discussing before the show when we were discussing about the openers and the playing 11 and the number 3 position. But just that Pujara void. I don't want to go too much into batting today because we have bowling, Ashwin, spin, opposition to talk about. But just that Pujara void, that number 3 void, because right now in that 11, even in the squad sheet, even in the opposite camp, स्टीव स्मिथ में अगर वो वाला मोड आ गया कि हाँ आज मेरे को रन बनाना ही नहीं है, तो there aren't many batters in both squads to do that Pujara job, right? Just to tire out the bowlers. So is it going to be a different BGT from what we have seen in the last 2 editions?
Well, different. I don't know. I mean, but it threatens to be different in the sense that what worked for India is not available at this point. What's worked for India not just in Australia but in red ball cricket. I mean, you look at India's batting since the days of the pandemic. 2020, of course, there was no Test cricket. But if you look at the end of 2020, when we went to Australia, from there on, where exactly has India stood its ground, whether playing abroad or whether playing at home? Whenever we've done well in a series, who are those 2 or 3 batsmen who stood the ground for us? Virat has been in and out of form, not been in the kind of touch that we used to have him. The only two batsmen who come to mind are Rohit Sharma and Jadeja. Yeah. And of course to an extent KL Rahul. Again, as I said, that was the very reason why KL Rahul became the first choice in the absence of Rohit to actually replace him in the utmost. Having said that, outside of Rohit and Jadeja, nobody else comes to mind. And that Australia series, the last one, I mean, service that Pujara kind of put forth was just incredible in terms of Manas Arushan saying that I need to do a Pujara in order to survive. That speaks a lot in terms of what Pujara did, in terms of the body closing, in terms of just his ability to stand there. I've been saying this, while in the show yesterday and the show day before, we talked about India's attack. You said just now that we are going to continue talking about India's attack.
Yeah,
And yes, I do agree with you when you say that, how do we pick those 20 wickets is all that it's going to matter, over the next 5 days. My point is still about somebody showing the gumption to stand there, to bat a full day without actually looking at the scoreboard. Uh, you know, uh, those good old days of Rahul Dravid saying that I was tired, but I was enjoying the bat. I was just reading a quote the other day somewhere. Somebody just standing there, not worrying about what are the runs on the board, what strike rate am I batting on, what kind of, whether the crowd is really enjoying this, whether people are cheering out there, outside of that whole white ball mindset.
yeah,
Which batsman comes to mind? Nobody. There's just nobody who comes to mind. In India, Rohit Sharma, yes, I mean, the last two WTCs, I keep saying that we qualified basis some very important knocks that Rohit played. In the earlier first WTC cycle, a lot has to do with the century he scored in Chennai, that 160 or something he scored. In the next WTC cycle, the century against Australia, 147 in Nagpur. I think you covered the test match, right? Had he not scored that century, that series against Australia could have gone anywhere. So Rohit
yeah,
has been valuable with the batting. Outside of that, the only name that comes to my mind is Cheteshwar Pujara, yeoman service. Who replaces him? I can't think of any name. There is nothing. That's a huge, huge gaping hole, and I still don't have an answer as to how exactly are we planning to cement it.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Sahil, I will just add one more thing
yeah,
to this
Didi, please go
episode.
ahead. Yeah,
Like you said that हमको run बनाना ही नहीं है. देखो 200 balls में 80 runs is not run बनाना ही नहीं है. It's 80 runs at the end of the day. He might have
yeah,
taken 200 balls. जहाँ पे he has eaten up the new Kokabura ball that we were discussing about. And
yeah,
like if you look at the Brisbane test, like when
yeah,
Rishabh Pant comes into bat, he knows
yeah,
that probably the fear of losing is gone. And who
yeah,
has taken that fear of losing away? It's Pujara. Pujara
yeah,
has spent so much time in the middle that fear has gone away. That you are not losing. So these things are important. And I am very really surprised that they did not add him as उसको रोज every test match खिलाने का जरूरत नहीं था. Take him with the squad. It was because Australians are scared of Pujara. They are
yeah,
there, and in this lineup at the moment they are not scared of too many batters. They are scared of
yeah,
Virat Kohli, yes, but they are
yeah.
not scared of any other batter. That पुजारा का जो fear factor था ना ऑस्ट्रेलिया के माइंड में, that had to be used.
No, I think not many people have had that fear factor. Ravichandran Ashwin was one. BGT last time around, they got that off spinner from Baroda to emulate what Ashwin used to do. Action, same. Ashwin itna inke sar mein ghusa hua tha. And similarly for Pujara, because pehla press conference before the series, and the longest mention goes to Cheteshwar Pujara. And Matthew Hayden had a select media interaction earlier in the day. So we had someone from Amit Kumar from our desk kind of attended that press conference, press select media interaction. And even Hayden spoke at length about that Rahul Dravid, VVS Lakshman partnership at Adelaide, about how these two had that appetite of just standing there and doing the job. And that I feel is not going to be the case in this series. It's going to be a very fast moving series. Srini, on that front, WACA, Perth, we all know that bounce, that carry. So for our bowlers, before we get to that fill in the blanks mode again, how difficult is it for bowlers to kind of, or to contain that you know that feeling of not going the extra yard because of, or probably not getting carried away by the carry which the surface gives. It's a very difficult position for even bowlers to hit that right length, and that's the reason why away bowlers, even after so much purchase, have struggled to get it right in the first essay for starters.
Well, with any of the lot that we've gone with outside of Jasprit Bumrah, obviously this is something that's going to play on Murray Markle's mind. There is no doubt about it. It's a two-way, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you bring in, I think yesterday we were talking about Akashdeep, his ability to hit the deck, brings in the same amount of energies. Padikkal brings in the same amount of energies that a Siraj brought on the last test of Australia. Okay, but again, Siraj had that cushion where you had the others who could take care of. This time, probably, kind of outside of Bumrah, you lack that experience. But again, this kind of energy levels come to the table. So I think it's a double-edged sword there. This pitch, for I have zero doubts on it that this pitch is going to be a superbly pacer-friendly pitch with some real good bounce to look forward to. We are already looking at, from whatever I'm hearing, who people who are there in Perth and people who have been attending these press conferences and talk about, kind of the atmosphere that's there, windy, everything is in favor of these guys. All they've got to do is keep themselves in check. That's all that they've got to do. Keep their temperament levels in check. And I think, I think we've again discussed this before also. It's not like the Aussie batting lineup is in the greatest of form, although they have
Yeah,
some very good names, to kind of make that list when they were playing at home. But they're really not in the kind of touch that should, threaten the hell out of our bowlers. So keeping that in mind, those cards are very evenly distributed. I don't see a change in that. Our guys just have to keep those temperament levels. You're young, you're in Australia, you're like kind of, and the Aussies love giving it to you. Kind of you run in and Steve Smith looks at you and asks you to, very gently, back off. And, you got to kind of look at him in the eye and then just turn away, come back and get back to your job. I mean, those are
yeah.
things, when you're in your 20s. Well, I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea to just take it and not give it back. I think that's where these guys need to be careful. Otherwise, it's
No,
an evenly distributed, evenly
yeah.
divided. This.
Yeah. No, Nitin, the test is going to be heavily in favor of the bowlers, and they are going to control that passage of play. Batting is going to be crucial, but the pace of the test match, I personally feel will be controlled by the side which bowls better consistently, and that length always comes into question. And it takes me back to that Jason Gillespie stint with Ishant Sharma, where he kind of made that shift of hitting the top of the knee roll, and that made Ishant Sharma a different bowler altogether towards the second half of his career. Now, with youngsters like Harshit Rana, Prasidh Krishna, still young, I would say, in Test cricket, not age wise, but yes, in Test cricket, you have Akashdeep, Mukesh, probably the more experienced lot when it comes to the first class exposure. So, we don't really have that sample size to back. their their entry in the squad, right? That इतना फर्स्ट क्लास क्रिकेट या क्रिकेट का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है. सो वो टेम्पटेशन जो रहता है कि कितना क्या लेंथ हिट करना है, कि बाउंसर पे बाउंसर मारना है. समवन लाइक हर्षित राणा वुड रिलीज द फैक्ट कि जीजी बोलेगा राउंड द विकेट और मारता रहा बाउंसर. बट वो, for a youngster, if you understand where I'm coming from, for a youngster,
Yeah.
how to find that sweet spot when it comes to the ideal length of bowling at WACA.
Yeah, it happened with Srinath on the first tour in 1991, 1992, where he erred on the shorter side and really did not get the rewards that he should have. Whereas Kapil Dev bowled fuller, and although he was much slower to Srinath, he got a lot of wickets. So
Yeah.
here also, I just hope that somebody is into their ear. Morne Morkel himself, having played 6 matches in Australia, in two very successful series. I think he picked up 24 or 25 wickets in those 6 Test matches
Yeah.
when Graham Smith was captain. And I just hope that he and the rest of the bowling group and the senior players, they're constantly into their ear that you got to pitch the ball up. You got to pitch the ball up.
Yeah.
And because I think I remember one classic quote of I think of Dhoni in 2016 when Bumrah landed up straight from the flight and played that fifth one dayer where Manish Pandey got 100 in Sydney. He said that I did not have to tell him anything. He just figured it out by himself what length to bowl, where to bowl,
Yeah.
and but again, Bumrah is a freak, and I just hope that he transfers his experience of the previous two tours to Moni Morkel. In fact, said today in his press conference that Bumrah is a leader and how much he wanted that leadership tag when he's speaking to the younger bowlers, and I think that
Yeah.
that bit will be tested,
Yeah.
especially when he deals with Prasidh Krishna, Harshit Rana, and if Nitish Reddy plays and Akashdeep too.
Yeah, no, I'll request the producer to have that fill in the blanks graphic up if we have it from yesterday's show. Nitin wasn't there, so I'll put him in a spot today. Can we have that graphic up, please, where we were finalizing those 8, 9, 10, and 11? So if they kind of have that, I don't think we have it right now. So Nitin, we were kind of everyone was kind of sure in their heads except me because I want Harshit Rana in the 11. कि
Hmm.
आकाशदीप सिराज बुमराह ये तीन आपके पेसर होंगे now Nitish Reddy is confirmed Ashwin becomes your number 5. How long a tail are we staring at? Ashwin, with all due respect to his batting abilities and the resistance and the self appraisal of his batting, which he continues to do, but you're looking at a very long tail, right? If you go ahead with this sort of combination,
Yeah, but then I don't think we should be worried about that. I think if you're looking to play five bowlers, and credit to the Indian team that
yeah,
they have been there, especially once Shastri took over and once Virat took over,
yeah,
braving despite braving a few deadly collapses and
yeah,
braving a few losses, they have never swayed away from that idea of playing five bowlers, and I
yeah,
think they should stick to that. They should stick to that here as well, because I think if one of them has a bad day, then
yeah,
you're gone. You don't know what to do. If one of the seamers has a bad day, you certainly have to bowl spin just to make up the overs.
yeah,
So I just hope that they don't err on the side of extra batting safety or batting depth and play an extra batter or an extra all rounder or a spin bowling all rounder. I just hope that they go for the jugular, and it's like that classic hockey syndrome. You cannot play with 11 defenders, no, just
yeah,
out of the fear of conceding a goal. Invariably,
yeah,
that when you play 11 defenders, you will concede a goal.
yeah.
So I think the same holds true here. I hope that they don't err on that side. I just hope that they're aggressive, they're bold, and they play with five bowlers.
No, aggressive, bold, and it takes me back to what England series. There have been quite a few aggressive and bold calls by this management. I would credit Rajit Agarkar there. Starting from the England series, out of the blue, you had Dhruv Jurel making his debut. Out of the blue, it I think caught everyone by surprise. Yes, there were. It was a forced decision because Ishan wasn't available. KS Bharat wasn't doing what he was expected to do, and you looked at the domestic circuit, the likes of Upendra Yadav and all, who were tipped to kind of take the next step.
Yeah.
That didn't quite happen for them. So they were left with Dhruv Jurel, a player, IPL commodity, I would say, 3, 4 first class matches under his belt, just one double hundred, that too against a very weaker opposition in the first class circuit. He goes on to make his debut. Devdutt Patikal, after that 100 at Chepauk, he's drafted into the test setup, replaces Rajat Patidar for the Dhamshala test. Then we look at the BGT squad. अभिमन्यु ईश्वरन, yes, थोड़ा वो sentimental selection हो गया क्योंकि the mountain of runs you just can't ignore. Then in comes Nitish Kumar Reddy, and now everyone is going gaga over him. Morne Morkel at the press conference today spoke at length about him, tagged him as the player to watch out for in the series. Didi, your thoughts? Nitish Reddy, Ajit Agarkar has taken another bold move. वॉशिंगटन सुंदर मैं बीच में भूल गया, अब वो जीजी का मूव था कि एजे का मूव, ए का मूव था, वो देखना पड़ेगा. बट अगेन वॉशिंगटन सुंदर टू मी आल्सो केम एकदम ऐसा सरप्राइज कि मतलब वो रणजी ट्रॉफी खेल रहा है एंड इज ड्राफ्टेड एंड ही बिकम्स योर मोस्ट इफेक्टिव बॉलर इन द सीरीज. So bold calls. So is Nitish Kumar Reddy the right card which they have played, or will it backfire?
हाँ,
Because it's a
like
big call. क्योंकि अगर नीतीश कुमार रेड्डी हल्का 19-20 हुआ, the balance as it did in that series against South Africa where Shardul Thakur was all over the place, it could go for a toss, and
see
then there'll
this
be no hiding.
this this decision can be as much Ajit's as it is Gautam Gambhir's. Like
Yeah,
Gautam Gambhir has been an IPL coach for a while now, or like he's into that IPL mode, and he believes के वो temperament देखता है कि किसका temperament है जो IPL का वो pressure cooker situation में दिख जाता है कि whether you have the temperament to succeed. So Nitish Reddy has shown that in some of the games that he played, he was one of the finds. Now the point is, if Hardik Pandya was available, then Hardik Pandya would have gone. Like if Hardik Pandya was bowling, was playing red ball cricket, but unfortunately that is not happening. So we have to. They have got into that template of having an all-rounder at number 7 who will probably give you 10 overs, and on a tricky pitch maybe 30-35 runs is enough. So
yeah,
a quick fat 35. So Nitish Reddy, the little bits and pieces that I have seen of him in IPL and also in that A game, उसका तो game तो है, वो game तो दिख
हाँ,
रहा है कि he is quite talented, he is bold. वो when he walks down the pitch and tries to hit, एक बार out भी हुआ India A के match में, he tried to do that and got out,
yeah,
giving a catch in the slip. But he has that temperament. He has that temperament to probably
yeah,
uh, do the job. Now, whether he has really the skill to do it, like if he is asked to bat at 80 for 5, then
yeah.
can he do it? That I do not know. For that I am not sure about.
So,
On a red ball,
but
yeah.
Didi, I'll quickly interject you here because now जैसे ही आप बात कर रहे थे ऑल राउंडर का, शार्दुल वार्दुल सबका बात हुआ, जीजी का कोट याद आ गया गौतम गंभीर का, where he kind of shut down the obsession with seam bowling all rounders. So जब उसने बोला कि we are obsessed with seam bowling all rounders, we don't really need to be
नहीं
obsessed with those.
पर वो बोल लाइक जीजी का एक बात जो हो रहा है, ही इज सेल्फ कॉन्ट्रडिक्टिंग हिमसेल्फ इन मेनी थिंग्स. हाँ, so it is not like don't go by what he is saying in a press conference. It is not sacrosanct.
Yeah,
It is not gospel truth. वो
yeah,
उस टाइम पे to be combative जो बोलना है वो बोल देता है.
yeah,
Then he self contradicts. So this is a similar move. It is a move because given the body of work that Nitish Reddy has, like
yeah,
he does not deserve a chance. You have only gone on the basis of gut feeling. Harshit Rana, I know you like it, but he doesn't have hasn't done
yeah.
enough with the red ball,
Correct.
right? You have
So
gone
I'll put you in a spot. I'll put every one of you in a spot. We often talk about these all rounders. We country are obsessed with all rounders since Kapil Dev. Kapil Dev, Irfan Pathan. हमको एक सीम बॉलिंग ऑलराउंडर चाहिए ही चाहिए. कहीं से भी उठा के लाओ, हमें चाहिए ही चाहिए. हम इतना obsession create हो गया. Can Nitish Kumar Reddy, do all three of you see him as the X factor in the series? We often talk about X factors in T20s, ODIs, but Test cricket यार हार्दिक ने आके एकदम डायमेंशन चेंज कर दिया था जब वो आके वो ओवर्स दे रहा था और बैटिंग कर रहा था. Those knocks in one knock in South Africa, वो मैं अभी तक नहीं भूलता, and that knock in Sri Lanka where he played lower down the order. So the kind of value he brought to the table. Do you see someone like Nitish Reddy? I'll start with Srini, then I'll move to Nitin, then Didi. Nitish Reddy, X factor, or are we just purely obsessed with seam bowling all rounders?
So, okay, let me play the devil here. Let me give you an example the other way around. Let's talk about Washington Sundar here, okay? And I'll tell him because I mean, I love tracking that guy. I have always believed that this guy can potentially be a good top order batsman. Top order as in he can play up the order. I've always believed, even in any format, I remember once banging my head to the wall when Washington was available for Sunrisers Hyderabad in one IPL game, and they played it at number 7 or number 8 or something. I was like, what the hell are they doing? Why is he not here at number 3? Kind of a thing. Something that I vaguely remember it came to my mind. Now, his fitness levels were that of a twig of a tree. Could have broken any time. Only Ashish Nehra and Munaf Patel could give Washington Sundar competition in terms of the kind of fitness levels that he's enjoyed as a cricketer at a professional level. So we never really got to see what Washington was really capable of, except kind of passages of play. For example, the last tour of Australia, when he got the opportunity, what he did, he showed the potential. Unless you are thrown, I mean, everybody is actually backing a player somewhere, because somebody who's seen him from close quarter has seen some kind of, player to har koi 19 bc hota hai na. You've come through the ranks where you have kind of done your hard yards, and you are a little less or a little more in terms of whatever the talent you bring to the table. At the end of the day, I don't know who the Japan pointed out, or who, it's the temperament level that counts at this level, right? I mean, whatever you've done, you are an established guy at this level. If you've made it to the test level and you're here in Australia, and we are debating whether you're going to be part of the playing 11 tomorrow or not, then you, in terms of skill, you probably have already arrived, and that's why you're here in the first place. So I don't think there's any point debating that. The point that we need to debate is, does he have the temperament level to succeed? And that's where, when you have a guy like Gautam Gambhir, in charge of the team right now, and I would like to think that in the absence of Rohit Sharma, probably the onus lies more so on Gautam, where the batting order is concerned. And from that standpoint, Gautam is going to go with his instinct. And वो तो लगी तो लाख की वाला हिसाब है. It's that kind of a thing. But if Nitish kind of delivers, and things just happen to go the way you expect, then Gautam Gambhir, it's just that the coach comes out looking, kind of backing his player, and comes out looking good. It's something that all coaches have been known to do. So this is not a first this thing. I mean, yeah, the previous tour was an exception, but I'm just saying that, he's shown the capability. It's all
Yeah.
about whether on a tour like Australia, can he stand there and deliver. I mean, that you cannot really say. Nobody, I can promise you, can actually say this unless the guy really goes through the ordeal and stands
Yeah.
there and delivers. I mean, it's like trial by fire. You really
Yeah.
don't have any other way to see whether this thing will work or not.
Now, Nitin bhai, good, bad, or ugly, what will Nitish Kumar Reddy make Gautam Gambhir after the first test? Because he's very likely to make his debut now, and that 7-8 position is going to be very critical. Swinging position, I always considered that swinging batting and bowling position, वो मैच का रुख इधर से उधर कर सकती है. हम इंग्लैंड गए बहुत बार, हमने देखा स्टुअर्ट ब्रॉड ने आके एक बार वो ही स्पॉइल्ड दोस 2 टी सेशंस, आई थिंक 2012 वाले सीरीज के अंदर विद द बैट, वेयर
2011.
मैच कुड हैव गॉन, match 2011, sorry, match could have gone India's way. So I always find that that position very irritating. But now, if we kind of get the goods on our side, it could well be the difference between the two sides on a good day for India.
Yeah, you mentioned Stuart Broad. I'll make the pain a little more recent. I'll add Sam Curran in
Yeah.
2018.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so yeah. I mean, Nitish Reddy. See, any decision comes with the risk of failure, and I think
Yeah.
we should, if you want to blood someone here, this is the right place. Perth will offer him some movement, some bounce, and good luck. Good luck to the team management. They should be bold. That's what I said. They should not. They should not risk being defensive here. If they're
Yeah.
go for it. Be attacking. Go for five bowlers, three pacers plus pace bowling all rounder plus Ashwin, and I think
Yeah.
they'll have a good variety of bowling attack here.
Yeah. No, we'll speak about Captain Bumrah tomorrow. If people are kind of wondering why we are not addressing Bumrah at all, we are waiting for his press conference. It will happen tomorrow. The pre-match press conference. Both captains of the two teams, Pat Cummins and Jasprit Bumrah, for a change. Two fast bowlers will walk out for a toss wearing that blazer. It will be a good sight for people who have thoroughly enjoyed fast bowlers in Test cricket. But right now, if we can have that graphic up of what Hassi had said on Gautam Gambhir. Now, why I'm talking about Gautam Gambhir, because we had a different coach last time around when India had come. Adverse situations, Ravi Shastri, I think, championed the side as the head coach, being that elder brother when there were people who were kind of breaking their arms, pulling their hamstrings, not able to lift themselves, not able to lift their bodies off the bed. Sorry, I was off the screen. I don't know why. So yeah, I was talking about Ravi Shastri. Ravi Shastri, what he did the last series, I think that will be remembered for a very very long time, because it was just not a crippled Indian team, a depleted Indian team, बट देयर वर प्लेयर्स जिनको शायद उसके बाद मौका मिलेगा नहीं, और वो हुआ भी. टी नटराजन was is a case in point. Navdeep Saini could well end his career as India's designated net bowler because he's just not leveling up after all that exposure he got the last time around. That brings me to Gautam Gambhir. Didi, I'll start with you, then to KSR, then to Nitin. Gautam Gambhir, first major assignment, I would say, sternest test awaits him. He was caught, I think, caught off guard or was in for a root shock after what New Zealand did to India 3-0. No one saw that coming, but now this is where the real fun begins. 10 test matches, 5 against Australia, 5 against England, then Champions Trophy and all those things in between. But right now, purely talking from a red ball standpoint, because this is where doubts were. People were convinced. Nitin Bhai, you have been a vocal advocate of saying that Lakshman should have been with the red ball setup. Gambhir should have been given the white ball teams. But now Gambhir, one red ball assignment already done. This is the sternest test. So your thoughts on Gautam Gambhir? He's a character, fights fire with fire, all that jazz. But test cricket is about winning those moments, winning those sessions, winning those days, and then ultimately winning the test after 4-5-3, how many days they last. Your thoughts, Nitin, Dwaipan, and KSR, in whichever order you want to go ahead. Whoever wants to go first, floor is open.
I think why I said that he may be more in tune with the white ball because he's a modern cricketer. You know,
Yeah.
he's been involved in modern white ball setup. So I thought that the white ball initiation would have been an easier initiation for him, despite what
Yeah.
happened in Sri Lanka. I know that I consider to be an outlier series.
Yeah.
But I think he would have been more comfortable coaching the T20 setup, coaching the ODI setup, and Lakshman having worked. What I hope happens now in the future
Yeah.
when you are on a coach hunt is that whoever is the incumbent
Yeah.
spends a year under the current coach and
Okay.
then takes over like what Andrew McDonald did with Justin Langer, and
Yeah.
then just like you groom a captain after making him vice captain, I hope the same happens in the coaching setup also, because then the players get the time to get used to a particular individual, a particular coaching method, and then carry it forward. So I thought that if Gambhir was interested in being coach, which I'm sure he would have communicated earlier, because otherwise he would not have been made coach in such a hurry. So I thought that he could have been involved with Rahul Dravid as
Yeah.
assistant coach, and then maybe progress in the head coach role.
But Nitin bhai, do you think the cricketing egos which we have, which are like big egos, will actually allow a setup like this to actually function or kind of be looked at? I'm just asking, like, not a good ego or a bad ego, but there are big cricketing egos on the table when two individuals who have represented the country for a very long time, सबको एक दूसरे के नीचे ऊपर काम करने में छोटा बड़ा तो फील होता ही है. So कैसे, how do you crack that code then?
If you employ word salads like patriotism, nationalism, national pride, and all
Yeah.
that, then I'm sure they should not mind.
Yeah. The yes, the national flag is still very much there as the Twitter DP, if I'm not wrong. Ex DP, I would say. Dwaipan, Gambhir wasn't part of the system, right? I would call him an outsider when it comes to the coaching bit. The people who have preceded him, they were involved with the team in some sort of capacity or the other. Rahul Dravid championing that India A and under 19 program, then doing the bit at NCA, then Ravi Shastri, the director of cricket in his previous stint, and then keeping a close eye as a broadcaster, as a commentator, and as that, you know, omnipresent elder brother of some of the players who were playing when Shastri kind of took charge. Gambhir is an outsider. He's clearly an outsider when it comes to coaching. And red ball is something where even he, as a cricketer, kind of didn't enjoy that much success, except a series here and there, and that knock in New Zealand, which is often spoken about. Your thoughts on the test which awaits Gambhir in the test which gets underway day after?
See, the first things first, Gambhir became the coach. He was not the first choice. The first choice was VVS Lakshman.
Yeah,
VVS Lakshman turned it down. VVS Lakshman is almost just as Rahul Dravid also was not very keen to take up that job, but Ganguly forced him to take it. Okay,
yeah,
because they are happy doing the NCA job, and because which it pays them very very well, and the occasional
Yeah.
India junket as and when it comes up. So
Junket.
you are
I love the way you
why-
put it. Junket.
yeah, because they're not constantly under fire. So like VVS refused it. VVS did
Yeah.
not want to do that. So Gambhir, after that Gambhir became the coach, and Gambhir is, yes, you're right, he's an outsider to this setup to a degree. His insider actually is Abhishek Nair. Abhishek Nair is the man who does that
The
thing, and
hands-on guy. The hands-on guy.
the hands-on
The
guy.
hands
The hands-on guy is Abhishek Nair, who has been part of the system. वो वहाँ पे है वो and he's and Gambhir is running the show, like coming up with his combative comments and doing his bit, whatever needs to be done. But yes, see, उसका test तो शुरू हो ही गया है, like, and now that New Zealand has happened, New Zealand
Yeah.
has hurt a lot of egos. This three
Yeah.
zero at home, uh, the Indian board, the way it is, it has hurt them. It has hurt them. So if this Australia series goes really bad,
Yeah.
then, as you were saying, he has a 10 match after that England, etc. I have my doubts. If this series goes really bad, there could be changes. And as we had a story yesterday, which kind of suggested that Ajit Agarkar has gone there uh, to
To have
work
checks and
with,
balances. Yeah.
to have those checks and balances. The wards were quite guarded. It seemed the way it was written, but yeah, I think there is something there. Things are not all very rosy for Gambhir at the moment.
Srini, you have your doubts? Gambhir, coach, you always had doubts. Let's be honest, you always had doubts when it came to Gambhir taking charge as the head coach. And now, what, few months into the job and the selections, the confusion, the chatter, how do you see building up before the series and then what lies ahead?
I I doubts as in not his ability or something. I I was just curious in terms of the kind of temperament levels that Gambhir carries, and with these new age cricketers who
Yeah,
are kind of ready to kind of throw a hand or a leg at any given point, right? And when you have a coach like that who's actually inspiring them to go ahead and do what they what they actually keep itching to do all the time, that's not really a very inspiring scenario or a very kind of comfortable scenario at most times. But these were thoughts that were going on in my mind when Gotham was beginning, kind of raising his hand to become a coach. I had done one Twitter thread also, kind of, listing out the positive and negatives. And the only one big negative in Gotham's case, I was like, this guy is always itching for a fight, man. I mean, like, so and as a you need a guy who's like kind of who can hold you guys in good stead and keep telling them to calm down.
yeah.
And here's a guy who is doing exactly the opposite. So that is a question in my mind, and I said time will tell how this plays out. But having said that, a conversation with Dilip Vengsarkar long ago. I mean, 5-6 years ago, I remember having this conversation with Mr. Vengsarkar. I mean, when it comes to kind of looking at the big picture and talking about it, few men come close to Dilip, and I remember in one of the conversations about a coach, he said, at this level, how much does coaching matter? What exactly do you bring to the table? These guys are made products. By the time they are coming to the Indian team, the amount of cricket that you've put in at the first class level, at any level for that matter, you're already a done product. I'm not going to, whoever the coach is not going to come and tomorrow sit with a Nitish Kumar Reddy or any KL Rahul for that matter, who probably is struggling at this point. What do you do with the KL Rahul? You're not going to sit with KL Rahul and make him bat differently than what he is, the batter that he is, right? So at this level, what you need, okay, I mean, thoda bahut idhar udhar, the big example that comes to mind is Ravi Shastri to Virat Kohli when he asked him to kind of stand outside the crease. when he was struggling on the tour of England in 2014, and worked for him like wonders. And after that, Virat like kind of to kind of to counter the swing, and it worked beautifully for him. And so small things like those, but outside of that, there's nothing really very different that a coach is bringing to the table. So what
Yeah,
exactly is the biggest asset that a coach is actually bringing to the table? It's man management.
yeah,
Look at the stint of one of India's most successful coaches, Gary Kirsten. Look at the team that he had. It's very similar to what Shane once said of John Buchanan, right? Even his grandmother could have coached that side. In many ways, something similar should actually was the same in the Kirsten stint, right? Look at that team. All he had to do, and you used this word at the start of your conversation, egos. All he had to do was manage egos. I mean, respectfully so. All he has to
yeah,
do was, like, just make sure that there was an elephant in every corner of the dressing room, and all he had to do was just keep them in good state. So
yeah,
here, Gautam's bigger responsibility is that, I won't use, I'll be very careful in the kind of words that I use here, because, I don't want this to be loose in any way. But I'm saying that, this is a team full of youngsters. This is a transitioning team. And even with some of the seniors in the squad, they're known to kind of give it back to the opposition, known to kind of have a kind of. I mean, we've known, we've seen this team for a while now in terms of how they play their cricket, and how they like to kind of address scenarios in the middle of the field when something doesn't really go their way. And when you
yeah,
have scenarios like that, what exactly are you looking in a coach? A coach who's looked at the background and saying, "Boys, chill, come on, like sit down, have a drink, it's okay." Kind of something. Where and with Gotham, it's like, he'll be the first guy to run on the field and कौन बोला अच्छा मैं बताता हूँ. You know? So I don't know that side how exactly helpful that is going to be, but and that's time can tell. I'm not really going to hold Gotham by the scruff of the neck saying why did we lose um, the series 3-0 when you have a batter who's not played a full five test series, comes back into the another test series, and begins from the word go without actually going through any domestic grind. When you have a captain who blunders with a decision at a toss and then comes to the press conference, says, hands up, आपको जो पूछना है पूछ लो, मेरे से गलती हो गई. Why should I blame the coach? Am I crediting Rahul Dravid the way I'm crediting a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma for winning the T20 World Cup? No, the entire credit is going to Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, right? So for losing that test 3-0, I will blame the Indian team, not Gautam Gambhir. He's just come in. He's also just about settling in. Going forward is what I meant. My view was.
yeah. Going forward, now let's have the graphics off the page. We'll come to the final segment of the show. Last 7-8 minutes, the rapid fire, not the rapid fire which some of the Indian cricketers were used to and landed them in trouble. Let's avoid that. We'll move to our rapid fire. Let's start firing in the questions. We'll keep the answers very crisp, and we'll try and accommodate all the questions. So let's start. If we can have the first question, please. Ravi Shankar was getting very agitated because we are not taking his question. Please fire him next. Have a strong feeling that this first test is very important. Whoever wins this wins the whole series by 3-2. Nitin, quickly. First test.
Yeah,
How important?
absolutely right, Kumar Kanishk. He's bang on, because especially if for India, it is for India to win this Perth test is very, very important.
Yeah. Next question, please. Let's keep firing them rapidly. Ravi Shankar, here he comes again. He's still sticking to Abhimanyu Iswaran. Did you answered him yesterday or didn't you? I think आप इसको समझा दो अच्छे से कि अभिमन्यु क्यों नहीं खेलेगा. नो वैल्यू ऑफ परफॉर्मिंग इन डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट. थोड़ा विस्तार में समझा दो इनको. ये समझेंगे नहीं ऐसे.
Abhimanyu Ishwan is not playing this game, so it will be KL Rahul. And see, Abhimanyu Ishwan got those four chances. He had to make one big score there. That was absolutely vital. Had he done that, no, if he had got 170, 80 there, there was a significant chance that he might have got in. But because he failed in four innings in this setup where there are so many players,
Yeah.
is a lot in Indian cricket. You cannot fail four times and expect to be selected in the first 11. वो होता नहीं है. Sorry, boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question, please. Ready for Mitchell Stark. He has already taken 23 wickets in Perth Optus Stadium. Didi, you are still on the big screen, so might as well take that before I move to KSR next.
Mitchell Stark, yes, I think it is as much Mitchell Stark as it is George Hazelwood also. It's as you said, it's a fact. Mitchell
Yeah.
Stark spearhead, but those three pacers working in tandem, the new Kookaburra, and I hope India wins the toss and does not bat.
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन प्लीज फाइनल प्रिडिक्शन टॉप स्कोर लाइन ठीक है चलो ये तो सारे एक एक करके लेंगे वील स्टार्ट विद श्रीनी फर्स्ट क्विकली श्रीनी वील स्टार्ट विद द स्कोर लाइन सीरीज स्कोर लाइन वील स्टार्ट विद देन वील मूव टू द टॉप रन स्कोरर एंड टॉप विकेट टेकर सो इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया नहीं दोनों का कंबाइंड में से
I have zero idea how to predict a scoreline. I mean, look, the guy before this said 3-2. I mean, why not 4-1? Why not 2-2? Why not? I mean, weird. I mean, 3-2, like it sounds good or something, or he knows something that the others don't. So I really don't know how to predict a scoreline. But since you're asking, I'll say 4-0 so that we qualify for the WTC.
वी आर
Top
विनिंग
run,
4-0 इंडिया आर
huh?
विनिंग 4-0 इंडिया
बिकॉज आई
विनिंग
मीन प्रेडिक्ट ही करना है और मुझे तो कुछ आइडिया नहीं। अगर आपको है तो आप दे दो, मुझे ऐसे कोई आइडिया नहीं है। तो अगर आप मुझे पूछो कि पर्थ में हमारे जीतने की क्या चांसेस है, मैं वहां पे सोचने लग जाऊंगा। आप मेरे को पूरी सीरीज की स्कोर लाइन पूछ रहे हो, सो नॉट माई कप ऑफ टी। एंड बट इट्स विशफुल थिंकिंग सिंस एवरीबडी इज सेइंग व्हाट दे हैव टू, आई विल से 4-0 and let's qualify 4-1 or whatever, and let's qualify for the WTC final because it's wishful thinking. But then top run scorer, it's something that I know for a fact will not be an Indian. That
नेम एन
much I,
ऑस्ट्रेलियन नेम एन
huh?
नेम एन नेम एन
Even
ऑस्ट्रेलियन
Australia. So I am still going to say what I think, again picking from, I think what Dwaipine had mentioned in one of our yesterday shows or something, on a
स्टीव
tour of
स्मिथ
Australia, when I think Weapon said it, I don't know who, but on a tour of Australia, when I'm playing them in their backyard, for me, the biggest threat is and will continue to remain only one guy, Steve Smith. That's about it. That's one guy I will always stay alert against. Top wicket taker, again, Lion or Ashwin, one of the two. One bold prediction. One bold prediction is, yeah, India will qualify for WTC.
एनी
And
लफड़ा
will
इन
be
दिस बीसीटी
any lafra in this BGT? Of course, why not? I mean, I'm waiting for Virat Kohli in the slip and Gautam Gambhir at third man. Let's really look forward to and Virat Kohli. बढ़िया मजा आने वाला है।
Nitin, by your predictions, and then we'll move to Didi, and then I'll sum it up with my prediction.
3-1 to Australia is my scoreline. Top run scorer Manas Labuschagne. Top wicket taker Nathan Lyon. One bold prediction: no Indian centurion in this series.
Wow.
And since we're all flying kites here, let me, put my head on the chopping block so that people can troll me, and then and will we will we see any lafda in this Bordo Gavaskar Trophy? Hmm, lots of lafda over umpires calls. Let's put it that way.
Okay, okay. Didi?
Uh, my heart says 2-2. Head says 4-1 Australia. Uh, top scorer Usman Khwaja or Steve Smith.
Okay,
Top wicket taker Bumrah.
okay,
If he plays the 5 tests. One bold prediction: Rohit Sharma will play his last test match. Uh,
okay.
and we'll see any lafra in this BGT. Yes, Rishabh Pant ke saath, one of the Australian batters having a tutu meme, which will probably escalate to something more.
Okay, so I'll sum it off with Nimish. My prediction is either 3-1 or 4-1 in Australia's favor. We are only winning the day-night test. That's how I look at it. And if Sydney और मेलबर्न के अंदर weather ठीक रहा तो वहां draw का संभावना ज्यादा है, Sydney में ज्यादा है. Otherwise, we are losing the other games. We are only winning the day-night test primarily because of Jasprit Bumrah. Top run scorer Yashasvi Jaiswal. Top wicket taker Pat Cummins. वन बोल्ड प्रिडिक्शन, रोहित अकेला नहीं जाएगा, ऐसा मेरे को लग रहा है। एंड विल वी सी एनी लफड़ा इन दिस बीजीटी? आई थिंक ठंडा होने वाला है बीजीटी, अंटिल अनलेस ये हर्षित राणा को पहला मैच खिलाए, ये बीजीटी ठंडा होने वाला है, क्योंकि विराट कोहली हैज बिकम दैट कूल कैट जो मानस लाबुशेन से बातें करेगा, दोस्ती करेगा, वो मजा बचा नहीं अब। वो मैं इस वाला बीजीटी जो घर पे हुआ हमारे, बहुत बोरिंग था वो, इतना कुछ विकेट से हो रहा था बट देयर वाज नो चैटर। विराट एंड लाबुशेन दे वर एक्सचेंजिंग कमेंट्स एंड जोक्स लाइक, मतलब फूफी के लड़के हैं एक दूसरे के, तो वो मजा अब वो बचा नहीं बीजीटी के अंदर। डू वी हैव एनी मोर कमेंट्स? वी स्टिल हैव टाइम फॉर अ कपल ऑफ मोर कमेंट्स। Is India creating such a scene, doing practice behind the black curtains? Why? So I'll say that abhi the word from the BCCI and the management is that security adequate nahi tha, इसीलिए people weren't allowed to watch the practice, और वो main stadium में practice उस time पे हो भी नहीं रहा था, it was in a different facility, so maybe it wasn't that well guarded. So let's not make a lot of fuss and you and cry about that. बहुत teams ने behind closed doors practice पहले भी किया हुआ है, it's not something which is new. Hypothetically, if Bumrah wins the first game, will we persist with him as captain when Rohit is back for second? Srini, quickly on this one. Should we persist with Bumrah as captain if he wins the first test?
This is Rohit Sharma's team. With all due respect, captaincy goes to him the moment he's back. And by the way, nobody's going away till England. Doesn't
Okay.
matter what happens in the series.
Okay. Okay. Next question, please. ये रिपीट हो गया, दूसरा वाला दे दो। I feel Nathan Lyon will be bigger threat in the Perth test. Yes, of course. Dwaipan Datta, I'll give the floor to you. We were discussing it this morning about Nathan Lyon and how well he has done in Perth. Your thoughts on Nathan Lyon?
He will be a big threat, of course, but the biggest threat will be the Australian pace attack. Nathan Lyon comes in later,
If
adds
we
control
survive,
to the game. Yeah. So
what
yeah.
Vapan is saying is if we survive till Lion, then he will become.
Yes. I think here Shini has said what I intended to say.
Okay, so can we have that final comment from Ravi Shankar Kumar before he stops kind of trolling me again? वो मेरे को गुस्सा कर रहा है बहुत comments में, ले लो उनका last comment यार. He's saying something about Marnus. Okay, I'll take that Marnus Labuschagne question यार. मतलब again, no shortage of talent, promise, potential, next Steve Smith and all that jazz, but the numbers are
I
just
just,
not
I
there.
just, I just called him the top scorer of the series.
You called him the top scorer, what? So
Yeah,
I'll
I predicted.
kind of vocally disagree with you on that, Nitin, because I think he's set to become the next KL Rahul of Australia. I don't know why. I have a very strong feeling because those जितना promise दिखता है, he also goes back into a shell where he just doesn't give you that confidence. He has that game, he has that ability, but I don't know what's happening with him also. That conversion, that consistency. Yeah, please, if you want to say something.
साहिल वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल वो खेल लिया है. You cannot say he is
लेकिन भाई
going to be
अगर
the
वो वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल के अंदर जैसे वो सिचुएशन ऐसा था
he
कि
cannot be the next KL Rahul. Like
हाँ वो ठीक है, मतलब एक
हाँ.
Do we have any more comments? Bold prediction: new coach in the house after the Brisbane test. ये तो नहीं हो सकता भाई.
After the
Brisbane
last
test.
test.
नहीं. No, last test is in Sydney. Sydney is hosting the New Year test. Ashwin is a
Ashwin is
liability.
alive. Bad.
But his job is to bowl, right? Okay, do we have... Okay, last question of the evening. I think based on the previous history of Perth pitch, India should bat first, put some runs on the board. Fourth inning, Australia to chase a target of 250. Okay, I'll leave that question to Srini. Srini, the curator today, said that you won't have WACA snakes on the surface because there is no sunlight. So those snake-like cracks... So मैं गलत बोला.
And
Snake-like cracks.
and some rain
So-
also, right?
Yeah, it has been raining for the last couple of days. So it's still very overcast and kind of... So your thoughts? Bat first, bowl
बैटिंग करनी है पहले. अभी तो फर्स्ट न्यूजीलैंड की बात कर रहे थे हम थोड़ी देर पहले. बट नो, आई डू अग्री विद दैट. यू नो, if the conditions are even slightly good for batting, that's a decision that India should positively look at. Kind of I think putting the Aussies in first, if the decision rests in your hands, and then giving it's almost like, win toss, bat first, simple, boss. Unless it's like a dicey scenario where it's rained a lot, the conditions are overcast, the heavy wind, etc., etc. Those typically apologetic conditions. Other than that, Just win the toss, bat first. Simple.
I think we'll be staring at challenging that 36 all out if we decide to bat first on this pitch for sure. The amount of grass the curator has left, I think 8 mm or 10 mm is what he said. 8 mm, 10 mm of live grass, and they're still growing it. They're still watering it, still growing
वो
it.
देखो, please understand that वो ठीक है, but tomorrow is another day. What they do to the
Yeah.
pitch, and
Yeah.
उनको भी उसी ट्रैक पे बैटिंग करना है, so वो ठीक है. And playing mind games with India with grass on the pitch is not new, nothing new. So we'll wait for that until tomorrow evening.
Yeah.
बट सीनी एक बात के कल का प्रेडिक्शन भी थोड़ा वो क्लाउडी वाउडी रहेगा तो
Yes.
पिच थोड़ा
कल भी,
डैम्प
परसों भी,
रहेगा.
परसों भी,
हाँ,
परसों
so
भी.
if conditions are dicey on that front,
Dampness
then
is a big thing because that
then I
seems
agree. If it
become
rains
so
and if it is
notorious.
damp, sun
Yeah.
doesn't come out, it's windy, typically damp conditions, then obviously you don't want the captain again going to the press conference and saying hands up, आपको जो करना है कर लो. So
We have
that,
a bowling captain. Remember.
हाँ वो भी है.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
decision is a decision, sir. Somebody will have to take that call. Yeah, so if conditions are really different, but otherwise I'm saying the sun is out, slightly good conditions for batting, just go out and bat first, put runs on the board. Half your job is done. Just go out there, be confident if there's slightly good batting conditions available, go out there, put runs on the board, then take it forward from there. Very
That
important.
England that Headingley Test match in 2002, right, Nitin? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you had a Rahul Dravid to do that.
Sanjay Bangar also.
Sanjay Bangar also. Yeah, and you had a Rahul Dravid to do that. I don't know whether
Yeah.
these guys have that.
Yeah.
Few hours, we'll get to hear from India's stand-in captain. We are hoping just for this test match, Jasprit Bumrah. So you keep watching TOS Sports on YouTube. Follow us across our social media handles. Don't forget to click the bell icons, hit the subscribe button so that you're notified. We'll be coming Monday to Friday, 6:30 p.m. We have a couple of shows lined up for the IPL. 8:30 p.m. is what we target going live before the IPL auction. Then throughout the day of the IPL auction, we'll be live again. We'll be live whenever you want us to be live because it's an action-packed weekend ahead of us. The Border Gavaskar Trophy gets underway day after tomorrow, and the IPL auction from Jeddah. So we'll have a reporter colleague from the Times Network, Vijay Tagore, joining us live from Jeddah. So make sure that you kind of keep watching TOI Sports YouTube, and we'll ensure that you don't miss a ball and don't miss an update. So keep watching, and thank you for joining, gentlemen.
Thank you.